Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, today is the third Saturday of the month, which means it's time for Saturdays with Sharon, hosted by Dr. Nandita Shah, all the way from India. Please welcome her back to the show. It's great to see you again. I can't wait to hear what you're going to discuss today.
Thank you, Chef AJ. It's always an honor to be in your show. And today we have two other people with me. There's Supraja, who is one of our consultants, a nutritionist and a facilitator, and Jayshree, who is a counselor and a facilitator. And our topic today is cancer prevention and cure. And this is very important to me because my mother died of cancer when I was 25 and she was just 50. And I've always been thinking about her when I see patients and thinking about what were the causes of cancer and how can we prevent future cases of cancer.
Great. What's the most common cancer that you see in your practice?
In my practice, breast cancer for sure. So many cases of breast cancer. And then after that, all kinds of cancers, blood cancers, lung cancers, prostate cancer. But breast cancer is the most common that I see.
Great. I look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen then. So SHARAN stands for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature. And that's because, I realize that animals in nature know how to be well, but sometimes we don't. So if we could mimic animals, as in live a natural lifestyle, a lifestyle that nature intended for us, then we could be as healthy as possible. So that's the whole idea. Now, today's topic is cancer prevention and cure. And before we get there, let's just talk a bit about what is cancer. And cancer is the loss of normal growth control. That means that, normally when a new cell is formed, an old cell dies. And so the number of cells in a particular area remain almost the same. But in the case of cancer, cells multiply exponentially. And so the numbers just increase really fast and they're fast growing too. And that's why the tumors grow quickly. And cancers can spread to other parts of the body. This is called metastasis. For example, a primary cancer in the bowels, colon cancer, which is very common, you said, in the US, can spread to the liver, and cancer that is in a tumor in the kidneys could spread to the lungs or anywhere else. And that is really scary because, once it's going all over the body, it's even harder to control. And the conventional treatment of cancer is surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. One or two or multiple, all three of them can be used. And, as I've been saying about SHARAN, that we always look for the cause of the problem and try to remove it. So a conventional treatment tries to remove the symptoms, and that's great, especially in cancer, because, the tumor is growing quickly. And so we want to control the growth of the tumor. And so surgery is great because it just removes the tumor. Chemotherapy can be good as well because chemotherapy is something that goes through the entire body. And so it kills all the fast-growing cells, no matter where they are, which is good because cancer cells are fast-growing cells, but which can be bad also because, the blood cells, the red blood cells and the white blood cells and hair cells and skin cells and other cells are also fast-growing. And so these tissues may be damaged as well with chemotherapy. In fact, chemotherapy has so many side effects that it can affect almost any part of the body with hair loss and dehydration and nausea and vomiting and tooth damage, mouth sores, change in the taste or smell, anemia, leukopenia, uh, diarrhea, bone pains, and osteoporosis, and memory loss, and neuropathy, and headaches, and jaw aches, and hearing loss, and visual loss, and organ damage, and infertility, and skin symptoms, and weight loss, and anxiety and depression. Sorry, all of these things. And so, although chemotherapy helps us to buy time, it can be really damaging as well and scary as well. Nobody likes to undergo chemotherapy unless the cancer scares them more. And then there's radiotherapy, which is a localized radiation. So the radiation just burns the tissue that it's focused on. And this can be really good, but the side effects of radiotherapy can be all the side effects of burns, skin dryness and soreness and discoloration and blisters and swelling and edema and pain, hair loss, tiredness and fatigue. I mean, any kind of symptom that you would feel when you're recovering from an injury or a burn, and then weakening of the bones and damage to the nerves and so on. And so, although these treatments may be required, we have two kinds of patients. Some patients who don't want to undergo any of these treatments, and they really believe that changing their lifestyle can make a big difference. And often it does. Sometimes it doesn't as well. And at the other end of the spectrum, there are people who want to do all the conventional treatment. And even for them, lifestyle changes and removing the causes of cancer is very, very effective. In fact, I've seen so many people who are undergoing chemotherapy who change their diet and lifestyle and hardly suffer from the side effects of chemotherapy. So no matter what you decide to do as treatment, it still is worth making lifestyle changes. And there's so many alternative treatments as well. I don't know everything about all of them, but here's what I do. I just think that logical removal of any disease requires the understanding of what the cause of that disease is and then remove it. Because our body always works to heal. No matter where we are, body is always working to heal if you give it a chance. But in order to do that, you have to remove the causes of the problem. And that's a bit why I'm hesitant about chemotherapy and radiation unless it's absolutely required, because chemotherapy is a poison. And so it comes in the way of the healing power of the body. And radiation, everyone knows that X-rays cause cancer, right? So too much radiation just to kill the particular tumor can be harmful. At the same time, there are benefits. So one has to weigh the pros and cons and decide what should be done in every individual case. And nothing is good or bad. And, it's always best when the patient decides what they're doing. But it's good to, no matter what you do, make lifestyle changes so that even if you have undergone chemotherapy, radiation, or surgery, or all of them, you are preventing the recurrence of cancer, because medicines in general never cure. They just remove the problem temporarily. Unless you remove the cause of the cancer, it can come back. And so we are going to look at all the causes of cancer and remove them. So what are the causes of cancer? And all of us understand that, there's certain causes that in our modern day lifestyle are likely to cause cancer. Sometimes people think that cancer is genetic, and most cancers start due to gene changes that happen during a person's lifetime, that happen due to something that we're doing. For example, radiation can cause cancer. So we should minimize X-rays and other kinds of radiation, especially, if you're near areas where there's a lot of radiation. And then one of the number one causes of cancer these days is excess protein. That's something that we don't usually think about, because most of us think protein is good and more protein is better. But actually, when I ask my patients, what is protein good for? They say to build muscles. And that's because, we've been told that if you want to build muscles or if you're going to the gym, you should have protein supplements and so on. But actually, protein is the food for growth and repair. Cancer is a growth. Excess proteins cause cancer. And that's why we want to eliminate all kinds of excess proteins, animal proteins and protein powders and supplements, even plant-based protein supplements, because, the only way we can get excess proteins is when we're eating proteins without fiber. If you eat proteins with fiber, it's unlikely that you'll overeat. For example, it's easy to eat a lot of cheese or chicken or any animal protein, eggs or dairy, but it's very rare that somebody says, oh, today I overate beans. And that's because beans have fiber, and fiber fills you up and prevents you from overeating. So when we eat plant proteins in their whole form, we're unlikely to overeat proteins. Dairy is another big culprit because there's several things about dairy that are bad. Dairy is the food for a baby calf to grow to full size in 18 months. And so milk contains powerful growth hormones that not just make a baby calf grow, but make tumors grow as well. And then milk also contains casein. Casein is the milk protein, and casein is a known carcinogen. And a really good place to learn more about how casein is a carcinogen, I think, is Forks Over Knives, the Forks Over Knives movie, or the China study, which describes the experiment done on rats with casein and how, rats that were given 20% diet of casein grew tumors no matter what. But if the casein in their diet was reduced, the tumors would also shrink. That means we actually have the power to turn on and turn off cancer genes or cancer cells. And hormones in dairy can promote hormone-dependent cancers like breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer are often hormone-dependent cancers. And since milk is the secretion of a female mammal, automatically milk contains estrogens and progesterones, which can cause female cancers like ovarian cancer and breast cancer to grow. And so it's really important that we understand the true impact of dairy, because I would wish that everyone would stop consuming dairy their entire lives. My mother, I grew up in a family which was vegetarian, and we always ate really healthy, and we thought that milk was the healthiest thing. And if I have to think back at why my mother got cancer, maybe one of the causes was so much dairy. There were other causes as well. And then fat. Fat lines the arteries, blocking the blood flow to various parts of the body and reduces the oxygenation. And normal cells require good oxygenation. But if the oxygenation reduces, normal cells can't survive, but cancer cells can thrive. And so if we keep our arteries open and, blood flow goes through them really well, then there's less likelihood of getting cancer. And so it's really important. There are people who treat cancers just with hyperbaric oxygen. So that's how important oxygenation is. Pranayam also could be something good to do in cancer, but what we really need to do is clean out those arteries. So the first thing we need to do to clean out the arteries is stop all the fat in the diet. Where does the fat come from? Oil, butter, margarine, but also from all animal products. You know, you boil milk, you get fat on top. You boil chicken, you get fat on top. You boil fish, you get fat on top. And meat too. Now, it's really interesting that if you boil plant products which have a lot of fat, you will not get fat on top. For example, if you boil peanuts, you won't find fat on top. If you boil a piece of coconut, you will not find fat on top. If you boil sesame seeds, you will not find fat on top. And that's because the fiber holds onto the fat. That's the same thing it does in our body. So if we eat a lot of fiber, and fiber is only found in plants, if we eat a lot of fiber, then the fiber holds onto the fat. It prevents the fat from going into the bloodstream. It also makes the blood thinner. And that thin blood starts dissolving the fat that's already lining the arteries and opens out those arteries and improves the oxygenation. And so cancer cells are less likely to thrive. Now, if we're eating a standard diet, then you can see that over a period of time, the arteries get narrower and narrower. But if we eat really healthy without extra fat, then we won't get these kind of problems, just like all the animals do. Animals can't eat refined products, right? So herbivores, and we are actually herbivores, if they eat any like something with fat in it, say beans or peanuts or any of those things, or sesame, or every single plant has a certain amount of fat. They're eating the fat with the fiber, and so the fat doesn't go straight into the bloodstream. We need to do this too. No free fats. And then lack of fiber. I just spoke about how fiber is so important, but fiber is also important in order to maintain the gut microbiome and keep the whole gut in good condition. And if colon cancer is common, we know that it's because of problems in the gut. And fiber is the thing that can prevent all these problems, because the good bacteria grow on fiber and keep the gut microbiome really looking good. And then an acid environment promotes tumor growth. Our body is actually alkaline. And if we keep our body alkaline by consuming alkaline foods, then cancer cells don't thrive. Cancer cells prefer acid environment. Normal cells prefer an alkaline environment. But we today are eating too many acidic foods. The most alkaline foods in the world are fruits and vegetables. All fruits, even lemons and sour fruits and citrus fruits are alkaline in our body because they contain a lot of potassium. But common acidic foods include all animal products because, high protein breaks down into amino acids, as well as all the addictive plant-based products like sugar and coffee and tea and wine or alcohol, vinegar, salt, colas. All of these are acidic. And so we need to minimize acidic foods in our diet, maximize alkaline foods in our diet in order to prevent and even reverse cancers. And other cancer-causing foods are sugar. Everyone knows that sugar promotes cancers. Cooked meat has heterocyclic amines, which are carcinogens, and carbs heated to high temperatures contain acrylamides. So does coffee and fried foods. And these are also carcinogens. And of course, chemicals are carcinogens. And where do chemicals come from? Chemicals can be in foods, like all the packaged foods, but also in the non-organic foods. Chemicals can also enter our body through personal care products like toothpaste and soaps and shampoos and perfumes and deodorants and cosmetics and hair dyes and all of these, because when you put something on your skin, it usually gets absorbed in less than 26 seconds. And therefore, it's really important to use high quality, minimally chemical personal care products, or even make your own. And then medicines are chemicals as well. So we shouldn't forget that. So are supplements. And so we should just use the medicines and supplements that are absolutely required. And of course, home care products, all those things that we're breathing in, those strong smells, the perfumed candles and the air fresheners and the toilet cleaners and detergents and window cleaners and floor cleaners, all of these contribute to chemicals in our body. So we are creating a toxic environment in our body all the time. And then other chemicals can come through plastic food containers, like, putting things in plastic and heating them in a microwave, or bottled water that has been out or transported in either very hot weather or cold weather. And when you drink bottled water, have you noticed that it tastes different? You can actually taste chemicals in the water. And then there's non-stick cookware, which, if it's heated at high temperatures, emits fumes that are toxic as well. And if they're scratched, the toxic chemicals can even go in the food. And then there's the pollution that we're creating every day. Sometimes we don't see where all the garbage goes, but it's going into some dump and it's going back into the earth or into the sea, and through a cycle coming back into our bodies through the water, or sometimes it's burnt and it comes back through fumes. And then electromagnetic frequencies like microwaves and mobile phones and mobile phone towers and all these remotes that we use. And so it would be really wise to turn off all the Wi-Fi's and remotes and everything that you're using at night, at least so that you have less of these electromagnetic frequencies at night. Nowadays, even the LED bulbs that people use, because they're energy saving, they also emit electromagnetic frequencies. And then stress. Everyone knows that stress causes disease. And in the case of cancer, it's especially anger and resentment. And so it's really important that we look at our lives, and the only person who can make you really upset is your own thoughts. And so we have to make a shift in our thoughts, because otherwise our anger and our resentment is going to harm us, not the person we're angry at. And then lack of sleep. The maximum healing takes place during sleep. But nowadays, we have bright lights and so many digital devices and so much to do till late at night. And everyone's so busy, and this isn't a way to heal. Recently I'm treating some patients that are busy going to work every day, and they leave at 6:30 in the morning and get back at maybe 6:30 or even later at night, and then they have to cook and look after the house, and they work till late at night to prepare for the next day. And so lack of sleep. So the first thing I always tell my patients is that we have to prioritize health, because otherwise we'll be lost in all the treatments and never get well. Now, is it curable, cancer? And this depends on a variety of factors. It depends on the age. Obviously, younger people are healthier or have a better chance of healing. It depends on the type of cancer, the duration that the cancer has been there before we make the lifestyle changes, or the kind of treatment that's given, because some of the treatment is so harmful that, sometimes over treatment can also kill a patient. And then the causation. If you can put your finger on the causation and remove it, it would really help. It also depends on the compliance of the patient and their life situation and the will to get well. Like, there are patients who they're not sure if they really want to live, right? So it's really important to have that will to live, because sometimes we bring disease on ourselves. So why should I change my lifestyle now? Because cancer is the leading cause of death worldwide, and so many people are suffering. And death is okay, everyone has to die, but the suffering that goes into cases of cancer is so high. And around 1/3 of the deaths from cancer are due to tobacco use, high body mass index, alcohol consumption, low fruit and vegetable intake, lack of physical activity. All of these are things that we can change. So what do we have to do? We have to eat plants, lots of fruits and vegetables, eat whole foods as far as possible, because remember that fiber is so important. And fiber is important for another thing. Fiber helps us to clean our intestines, and that prevents toxins from being absorbed. So fiber is really, really important to make our blood thin, to open up our arteries, to clean out our intestines, in fact, to detox as a whole. And then, of course, we should eat organic, because we don't want to put in chemicals and carcinogens into our body. And we should eat more raw. Raw is, I often tell my patients with cancer to eat 100% raw, because eating raw is like going on the highway to health. So whatever you can do, as much as you can do, and even if you can't do everything, 80% raw is a big step forward. In order to be healthy, we need high quality spare parts. That means phytonutrients from all the colors of the rainbow. And if you eat raw foods, your food is so vibrant and colorful and contains so many nutrients that it's easier to heal. This is a rainbow salad. And look how exciting it looks, right? It just looks like fun because of all the colors. Now, there's one more thing that we usually don't allow in other patients, but because cancer is fast growing, in order to flood the body with nutrients, and also in some cases when you don't feel like eating, especially after the chemotherapy, or you can't chew raw food anymore, vegetable juices can be really, really helpful. And what vegetable juices? You should have all the colors of the rainbow. If possible, we should cover all the colors of the rainbow in our food every day. So though we don't allow fruit juices, because we don't want to have anything where the fiber is removed, even though the fiber is removed in vegetable juices, because it's flooding our body with nutrients, that's worth it. It helps in healing, and so it's allowed. And then vitamin B12 and D should be checked and supplemented. A lot of people have deficiencies in these two vitamins. So SHARAN has a 5-point plan that we should eat plant-based, whole foods, organic, and vitamin B12 and D should be checked and supplemented. And if you look at the food that we're eating these days, I mean, here's a picture that's kind of standard. And if you look at the food, how do you feel? As opposed to if you look at the food that we should be eating, can you see that there's a different sensation or energy that is in your body, even when you look at different kinds of food? You can even tell that the picture on the right-hand side is going to be healing, right? Okay, I want to leave everyone with some references. This is a book that I really love.
I think you're frozen, Dr. Shah. You froze. Where'd she go?
I think Dr. Shah has
I'm
come
going to
back.
share my screen again,
Yeah,
but I don't know when you lost.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly. You said this is a book I really love.
Okay, great. So Chris Walk's book, Chris Beat Cancer, is a book that I really love. And that's because, you know, Chris is a layman and he did all this research because he found out that he had colon cancer soon after he got married. And everyone around him wanted to do the conventional treatment, but he started researching into everything and wrote this book. And he has an audio series called Square One, which is also really useful and really inspirational. And so he says that, you know, it was his goal to have a family and children that helped him do everything that was needed. Like he went completely raw just so that he could heal cancer. And he did, and he's helping so many people do that. I love Dr. Lorraine Day, and she has a 10-point plan that has an acronym New Start AB. Nutrition, and we already talked about the nutrition. The best nutrition is as raw as possible and definitely whole and plant-based. Exercise, you should do whatever you can because, you know, we were meant to move. Then water, rehydrate often, plenty of sunshine. Temperance means avoid all the habit-forming substances like tea and coffee and colas and sugar and so on, alcohol. And then plenty of fresh air, rest at the right time. Our body heals between 10 and 4, 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., but you have to be asleep. So it's really important to go to bed. I mean, there's a reason it's dark at night, right? It's really important to go to bed at the right time. And then trust in God, or trust in your body knows how to heal, and your body will guide you. Your body will even tell you what to eat, because if you have a craving for something, it means that you need the nutrients from that particular food. So we really need to listen to our body. If we are tired, we should rest. If we're hungry, we should eat. And if we're not hungry, we shouldn't eat. In fact, fasting can be really helpful in cancer because, you know, the cells go into autophagy. The body cells start eating up the cancer cells when we are fasting. And then A for attitude of gratitude and B for benevolence. And this was a kind of motto that she used to get well. Dr. Lorraine Day was an orthopedic surgeon who found herself with breast cancer with a tumor the size of a marble. And the tumor grew to the size of a tennis ball. And she didn't get the tumor removed because she said that I'm going to try to work on understanding the cause of my disease. And if I can remove the causes, the body will heal itself. And she didn't have surgery because she said, the cause of my cancer is not because I have too many breasts. So she went through the whole treatment that she herself devised for herself, just like Chris Walk did, and got better. Even though she went down, she said, my symptoms are the guiding lines to whether I'm getting better or not. Like, otherwise, if you remove all the symptoms, how do you know whether what you're doing is working or not? And so I think she's also very inspirational. And then Louise Hay. Louise Hay was the inspiration for Jayshree, who you'll meet later on. And she's written a book, You Can Heal Your Life, but she too suffered from cancer and turned it around. And then Chris Carr's written Crazy Sexy Life and Crazy Sexy Kitchen and so on. And she got cancer at a young age and worked on herself to, be a cancer survivor or cancer thriver. And then I really like this book by Andreas Moritz. Cancer is not a disease. It's a survival mechanism. It's a mechanism that your body uses to survive when all the conditions are wrong for normal cells to thrive. And so we have to put the conditions right for normal cells to thrive. So the steps for prevention and reversal of cancer are, number one, remove the fear. Have a reason that you want to live. Follow SHARAN's 5-point plan for nutrition and Dr. Lorraine Day's 10-point plan for lifestyle, and minimize chemicals. Work
I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
It
No?
seems to have frozen
this
again.
disease that now I'm able to help so many other people. Oh, were you able to hear me?
Not so much. There was a glitch where just a few seconds. When I don't know if you saw when I was raving, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Can I go on to this slide again?
Yeah, please. You can go back a couple of slides.
Here too?
When I wave, can you see me when I'm waving to say that I can't hear you, or can you hear me when I say I can't hear you? I don't know.
Have you seen this slide?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to this slide just in case, right? Steps for prevention and reversal are to remove the fear from our mind, because cancer is so scary if you don't have a grip on it. But if you realize that it's a chance for you to make lifestyle changes to get well, it can be really great. And then SHARAN has a 5-point plan for nutrition. Dr. Lorraine Day's 10-point plan for lifestyle. Minimize chemicals, work on stress and your emotions. And remember that disease is a path to personal growth. That means I suffered from an autoimmune disease called Guillain-Barré, and this really changed my life because I had to think about what is the cause of disease and what can I do to prevent any recurrence. And this has helped me with so many of my patients as well, because there's nothing that teaches you about health better than your own illness. Now, a few things I want to share are, it's just a final thought, and it's not got to do with health, but it's got to do with health of all of us on the planet. That the definition of cancer is an unregulated overgrowth of undifferentiated cells. That means all the cells are similar, ultimately destroying the very organism in which it grows. I believe that we are creating our cancer. We are creating cancer on this planet because we are growing, for example, our agriculture is done in a way that's totally unnatural. Fields and fields of the same plant. And so it's an unregulated overgrowth of the same thing that would never occur in nature. And then we're polluting the whole planet with plastic. It's the same pollutant everywhere, whether it's in the sea or land. And we are multiplying livestock to the detriment of all other species on the planet. So that, if you see this diagram, you can see that the biomass of all the land animals on the planet, the livestock occupy the biggest portion, humans the second biggest, and wild animals that exist is so very small. So we have an undifferentiated overgrowth. We have a planet that's suffering from cancer. And so we are creating our own cancer, and disease reversal requires a shift in consciousness from a culture of disease to a culture of health. And that's what we need to do. And how can SHARAN help you? We have talks like this, and I'm so grateful to be here with Chef AJ. We have online consultations. We can do consultations for people anywhere in the world. And these can be done even if you're undergoing conventional treatment for cancer. We can help you minimize the effects of that and maximize your chance of thriving without recurrences. And then we have cooking classes which teach you how to make really delicious food that's healthy as well, with whole plant-based ingredients, and even raw cooking classes and detox classes. And then we have a 21-day health retreat where we can actually get the results on the spot. And it's just a lot of fun. I want to let everyone know about our recipe book, which they can go to our website and download for free. And there are a lot of salad and raw recipes, but this is for everyone, dairy and oil-free and completely plant-based dishes from all over the world and India as well. So that's kind of it for me. And Chef AJ, may I invite the others, or would you like to ask any questions before I?
Not so much questions, but a comment that it was interesting when you were talking about all the foods that promote cancer: dairy, excess protein, alcohol, sugar. This is the standard American diet.
No, it's pretty close to the standard Indian diet too. Yeah. And that's why we need to change all over the world, because, this modernization of food and fast food culture is spreading everywhere. And that's why I'm so grateful to have two people or like all our facilitators who have changed their lives and really follow this so that they got healthy and can help others too. Yeah. I know how it's so difficult to change when we live in a culture of disease. It's so difficult.
And it's not just that they're eating these cancer promoting foods. They're not balancing it all with eating things with antioxidants and micronutrients like fruits and vegetables. At least in the United States, most people eat very few fruits and vegetables, and some people eat no vegetables.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Well, that was me, actually. I was a junk food vegan for a long time. So I'm not saying it's easy. I can relate, but I never got cancer, but I was diagnosed with pre-cancer in my colon from a junk food vegan diet for 26 years. And I was also obese. So I'm a big fan of eating for health now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I'd love to meet your special guests.
Okay. So I'm going to invite Jayshree first. And Jayshree, over to you. Jayshree is a counselor and she's also a facilitator, and she does lots of programs for people who want to make mindset shifts in order to get healthy. Jayshree, do you want to turn on your mic?
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Nandita. And hello, Chef AG. It's nice being here.
Jayshree is going to share her cancer story with us. Go ahead, Jayshree.
So until 2007, I was leading a normal, healthy life like everyone. I was a mother of 2 kids and I was working as a coordinator with a child welfare project, busy with myself. So, but my life took a turn in July 2007 when I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, stage 3.5 it was. I was actually stunned by the diagnosis, but I decided to take it in my stride and I went through the surgery and the chemo and to get back to health. And in 2008 October is in my regular checkups, quarterly checkups which I do, the doctor told me the cancer has relapsed. That was just within 9 months. That time I was totally shattered and heartbroken, and I think I cried more than the first time when the doctor told me it has relapsed. And I had no other option but to continue with the same treatment and surgery and another round of chemo.
Truth About Weight Loss Summit. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and thank you for
Go ahead, Jayshree.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. We'll edit this. Don't worry. My computer just sometimes plays stuff.
Okay. So then when the second round of chemos and surgery, I felt so sick and I was at my lowest by the first round of chemo itself. So when a friend of mine gave me this book, The Power Within You, written by Louise Hay, as I flipped the pages, I came across this chapter, Inner Child, which I resonated with, which I could resonate with. And the book was such an absolute eye-opener for me. And there were about 3 important takeaways for me from that book. First was that I needed to take responsibility for my illness. That was very clear in the book, and not be dependent on doctors and other people. And the second was to look into my thoughts, emotions, feelings, and my actions, for which I needed help at that time, help and guidance. And the third was changing my food habits, which I could do immediately. So the author's own healing journey from uterine cancer motivated me to try out raw food and more of whole plant-based food. So while I was already a vegetarian, giving up dairy and adding a lot of fruits, vegetables and vegetable juices, green juices in my diet, I actually started feeling much better. All the side effects of chemo got reduced. I was no longer constipated. The mouth ulcers went away, and I started feeling energized. So I further researched the benefits of whole plant-based food, and that is when I came across SHARAN website, and I attended a lot of Dr. Nandita's talks and multiple workshops. And parallelly, I also started working on my mental health. I started doing Heal Your Life workshops of Louise Hayes and then inner child work, and learning about neuro-linguistic programming, emotional freedom techniques. So all these helped me to work with my emotions and my thoughts. And I also started doing yoga, and which helped me to improve my sleep and better manage all my stressors. So all these practices really helped me to get back to health. And now it's almost 13 years and I'm doing really well. I am much, much healthier than what I was before, I can say. And I can say I'm a cancer thriver and not a survivor. And I really feel I feel so good. I feel now I can look back and say, oh, I am blessed to get cancer, because I was able to change my lifestyle at 48 years, and now I'm 60 and I'm doing extremely well. So I think cancer was a gift for me now when I look back.
I was exposed to the work of Louise Hay in 1987, and I love that work so much. I still listen to her, even though she's made her transition, you know, her books and her videos and her voice. I love that work. And I think it's really an important component in getting well from any disease.
True, definitely. Definitely. She's a wonderful person. And I became a Helio Life teacher and a coach also. I was fascinated by her work, and that's so nice.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your recovery.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's just amazing. Thank you, Jayshree, for sharing that. And I know you're going to share a recipe, a salad recipe soon. So if you would go and prepare for that. And in the meantime, Supraja is one of our facilitators and also a nutritionist and consultant. And she can share her story about her healing story about cancer. So Supraja, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Nandita and Chef AJ. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you so much. So my story is, you know, that at the age of 40, I actually had this desire that by the time I turned 40, I wanted to scale Kilimanjaro, and I was working towards that. But life threw a curveball, and I was diagnosed with early stage thyroid cancer. And you know, I already was a vegan for a very long time, and it wasn't like I was a junk vegan. I used to eat pretty much home cooked food. I was not really eating, you know, outside food much. And you know, there was hardly any oil in my cooking. But you know, something was wrong in what I was doing. And I also was very physically active. You know, I used to run, I've done half marathons. I used to do strength training. So, you know, the exercise part was also there. So for me, it was not so much as why me, but as in like, what was it that was the problem? You know, that was where my questioning was. But not knowing better, you know, I underwent total thyroidectomy, which is, you know, removal of the thyroid gland. And I think I was very fortunate that because it was an early stage, I didn't have to undergo a radiation therapy. So that was a good thing. But it helped me to introspect further. And I realized that I had been building up on a lot of stress over the last, you know, 7, 8 years. And all of those stressors were manifesting in different forms in my body over all those years, but I just didn't pay attention to it. And, you know, that also was a lot of sleep issues that I was dealing with. So when I introspected, I realized that stress and lack of sleep were actually very significant factors in my cancer story, you know. So I decided to take charge of my health, and I quit my corporate job. I was in a very stressful corporate job for a very long time. And I got back into nutrition studies. So, you know, I graduated in nutrition, but then I moved away and went into management. And so you know, I got back to my studies. I did a whole plant-based nutrition course, and a sports nutrition course and plant-based, you know, living kind of a thing. And I trained under Dr. Nandita to start doing consultations in the plant-based space. And along with that, with changes in the food, I also got into mental health practices, like, you know, practicing gratitude and journaling, working on affirmations. So a lot of these mental health practices helped me a great deal to deal with stress. But I think also one of the important changes I brought in was moving out of a major metropolitan like Mumbai and moving to a smaller town where I'm currently based. So that really helped me deal with a lot of stress of the big city life. Along with this, I, you know, started doing things that I wanted to do all the time, which is I just got into trekking in the Himalayas. I got into swimming again. I got into learning a new dance form. I started doing all the things that I was missing out on. I started doing the things that I really love to do. And it made me more happy. It made me more stress free. And, you know, that has been a huge part of my healing journey. So from, you know, I'm 46 now, and it's actually 6 years that I've been, I can call myself cancer free. And I should tell you this, that it has been actually, you know, a blessing in disguise. The diagnosis of cancer has been a blessing in disguise because I feel that it has helped me change my lifestyle, moving to a whole plant-based, no oil kind of a lifestyle, but also working on my health, mental health stressors. And I know for a fact that I'm more fitter now in my late 40s than I probably was in my 20s and 30s. So, thanks to the SHARAN guidance and Dr. Nandita and the whole plant-based lifestyle, I think we don't give enough credit to the diet that we practice. So, thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Supraja.
Congratulations on your recovery.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it must be very, feel really good. I'm curious, actually, and when Jayshree does her demo, she can talk about this, but I'm curious, like, what kind of foods do you eat now on a daily basis? Maybe take us through a day of breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So, after, like I said, after coming across the SHARAN lifestyle, we start our day with a green smoothie, which is like a handful of greens with a couple of bananas and water, and just, savor and relish. So that's like the first thing that I start my day with. And my lunch is almost raw. So, it's been a gradual shift while I switched to whole plant-based, but over the years, I've moved to being a more raw food eater kind of a thing. So there's hardly any grains. Most days I don't eat rice or wheat or any of these grains. It's a lot of vegetables with sprouts. So there's a good amount of protein that's coming in. There are occasional days when I bring in some tofu, but with good salad dressings. And, the book that Dr. Nandita shared, we have an amazing number of recipes for all kinds of foods. So there are even raw desserts and all of that. So it's there's nothing that we lack. And the best part is my husband and I, both of us follow this lifestyle. It's not like I'm doing it alone. So my family practices it. And I do also want to share that my father, who's almost 80, about 5 years back, he also transitioned to a whole plant-based lifestyle, and he's significantly come down in terms of his diabetes. Like, the number of units of insulin that he was taking has also come down very significantly. So everybody who transitions to a whole plant-based lifestyle just benefits.
I'm curious, what role, if any, does exercise play in people that are recovering from cancer or trying to prevent it?
Oh, it's a huge role. We don't, especially in India, and I can tell this for a fact, most people don't give enough importance to exercise. And people think exercise is going just for a walk. Well, yes, from no movement to even walking is progress, But with the kind of lifestyle that we lead, we need to make sure that we bring in a lot of other activities. And especially women, we don't focus on strength. There's muscle wastage that's happening, and the bone strengthening, like as we age, with bones degeneration. So strength is something that really needs to be worked upon. My grandmother and all would do a lot of manual work, right, which would kind of take care of their strength training. Like, it would be physical work, but we don't have those kind of we don't do that kind of work anymore, right? So we have to very focused bring in strength training apart from cardio. And definitely, it obviously promotes the good, all the stressors go away. So that way you're reducing your burden on cancer growth, and then you feel just good. So all your good hormones, happy hormones are elevated. So that's another way to, so I think exercise is as important, if not more. Like, it's equally important, food and exercise. And I don't think you can actually isolate any of these things, Chef AJ, because along with food, exercise, stress management, sleep, all these factors play a very, very critical role in your overall health.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we could have Jayshree back. Jayshree, would you like to share with them what you're doing? You'd have to unmute yourself.
Yes. So today I'll show you a very simple South Indian salad called Kosambi. It's a very simple salad, and this is the salad which probably I ate when I turned raw, because it's the only salad I knew to make. And so this salad has got proteins, fat, the vegetables, and everything. So basically, I ate a lot of raw food to get into that alkaline state to heal myself. So we use a different kind of dals. Any of these dals you can use. This is the moong dal, and this is with the skin, and this is without. So it's better to use it with the skin because it's got high in fiber, or the whole one you can use, and the whole one you can soak and sprout it like this. So it's rich in proteins, and it's very good for the body. So I'll be using one of these dals now. I have soaked it well. So these are the vegetables, a very simple salad. We use some fresh grated carrots and cabbage, and freshly grated coconut, which you find in the Indian stores. And either you can use the sprouted moong dal or the soaked moong dal. It's well soaked, and you see the fiber, the skin is all there, it's not removed. And then you use some garnishing coriander to garnish it. So let's make the salad. It's very simple to make. So I'll add some cabbages. I'll add some nicely grated carrots, fresh carrots. And then you add some soaked moong dal. You add some nice fresh grated coconut. Be generous with the coconut. It's rich in fat and fiber. You can stir it. And we use a pink salt. We use the rock salt, the pink rock salt. You can garnish a little bit of it. You add some lime juice, a little bit for the sourness. Remember that the salad has all the taste, the sourness, the spiciness. So we can add some spice, some ginger and garlic, ginger and chili, sorry. And you mix all of it nicely. It looks really colorful, isn't it? And then for this salad, you do a dry tadka. So you can use the you don't use any oil, you use a nice thick bottom steel pan, and then this is getting hot. Give me a minute, it's not getting hot. Just give me a minute. Now it's got hot. Yes. So it's getting hot. When it's really hot, you use some mustard. Mustard seeds are also rich in fat, and it adds a lot of flavor to the salad. So when it's really hot, you add some mustard seeds. The mustard seed, when it splutters, use some curry leaves for it. I get a good, nice aroma I'm getting of the mustard seed spluttering. Can you see it? I'm sure you can see it spluttering. You add some curry leaves to it. Fresh curry leaves. These are taken from my garden. Fresh curry leaves. And you add a little bit of hing. It's called acidophiltria. A small pinch of it. It gives a nice flavor, and it helps in digestion. And now it's really spluttering. Stop something. Add it to your now the salad is ready. You stir it well. Okay. Serve it for me. Doesn't it look yummy and colorful? The
Yep.
red. Yes, and a little, you can decorate it with a little bit of coconut, freshly grated coconut, and some coriander leaves. Ready to have the salad. Yes.
Thank you, Jayshree. This is actually one of my favorite salads also because it has such amazing South Indian flavors. It's just delicious.
Tell us a
Yes,
little bit
And the
about,
best part is that, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask Jayshree to,
make.
I'm just curious if Jayshree could tell us what she eats in a day.
Yes, so I also start my day with a smoothie. That's what we all do in SHARAN, the green smoothie. And then I am on 3 days on a fruit fasting. I eat just fruits the whole day. And on one day I follow a raw diet where I eat a lot of salads and fruits. And sometimes I eat a cooked meal in the evenings. And basically it's with millets and some cooked vegetables. So I try to be mostly on raw and of course a little bit of cooked food once or twice in a week. But
And-
I eat more of raw food and I really love it.
And are you an exercise fan?
I do yoga. I regularly do my yoga, Surya Namaskar, and I do some brisk walking. And of course, I do a lot of meditation and of course I do all of that also to calm my mind and work with my thoughts and emotions.
Great, thank you. Looks delicious. Yeah, we'd love to have the recipe to post in the show notes.
Sure, I'll send the recipe too.
Thank you. Any final thoughts, Dr. Shah?
No, I just want to thank you for inviting us and Jayshree and Supraja for doing such a great job of telling their story. And I hope that this will inspire a lot of people to, if they have cancer, have the courage to do everything right so that you don't get recurrences and you can minimize your treatment if at all you have to take it.
That's wonderful. Thank you all so much. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for Heart to Heart with Dr. Columbus Batiste. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.